Hey there. Today I'm going to talk about SEO and the TPT algorithm a little bit and how you can kind of maximize your descriptions to try and get as many eyes on your products as you can. Starting with the TPT algorithm, because that's been kind of an ongoing problem for the last month or so, I noticed that my sales went way down toward the end of September, like drastically down, like my views and sales both dropped pretty significantly right in the last week or so of September, and then have kind of continued like that through October. And I don't think it's just the back to school rush that's gone away or anything like that. I think it has more to do with the changes that TPT has implemented to their search algorithm. And there's been lots of information about that on the forums, and other sellers have noticed the same trend as well. So what exactly is happening with that? It's kind of a mystery. The wording that they gave in one of their announcements was a little bit unclear, but it said something like, we're changing the way that we recommend products after someone has made a sale or something like that. It sounded like a really minor change, but some people have kind of hinted that possibly the personalized search has come back, and maybe that's making a difference and causing people to have reduced sales. But in any case, most people's sales are down. I don't know how that makes sense, because TPT themselves has said that the number of views on the platform has increased quite a bit as a result of their marketing efforts. But if sales are down and views are up, then maybe people are coming to TPT but not actually making a sale from Google or something like that, for instance. So that's about the only explanation I could come up with for that. And it's a little bit discouraging, because obviously if your sales are down, you get less motivated to work on your products and your store and things like that. So I've made some changes this month and a little bit towards the end of last month as well, to try and see if I could make up for the losses that I've had in terms of views and sales. So one way that I've done that is to start messing around with my product descriptions and my titles especially, but the product descriptions themselves as well. So my reasoning was that I could spend more time on marketing or making more products or something like that, but the views and the searches from TPT are still the highest traffic that I get, more than Pinterest or YouTube or Instagram or anything else. So shouldn't I just focus all of my effort on the descriptions and make sure that people searching on TPT can find my stuff as easily as possible? My conversion rate is pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. It's about 4 to 5% overall. So, what's the point in spending all this time changing little aspects of my products to try and get a few extra 0.1 percentage points up on my conversion rate, when I just need to get more views? More views would be better than anything, and then that would result in more sales without having to do much of anything else. So anyway, product descriptions and titles, that's what I've been working on lately. And I haven't modified all my products, because I want to see if I change some of them, does it make a difference to those products? And then I'll go back and edit the other ones and make sure that I'm doing the most efficient thing possible. If I just change everything, then I won't know if it's working or not. So I'm trying out my scientific method here and seeing if I can maximize my views, get more views on some of those products that weren't selling that much. Another thing that I've noticed in the last month or so, and I don't know what exactly explains it, but some of my bundles are not selling as well as they once did. And now my individual products are selling more. So I'm selling a lot more of single products, like $3 and $4 products, but not as many of the ones that are like $15, $20, $30. That's not great for the sales, but it's interesting. I don't know why that's happening suddenly, but anyway, so just something that kind of, I don't know if other people are experiencing that too, but it seems to be a trend on my store at least. So let's start with the titles. So if you want to maximize your titles, you should be, first of all, using the entire word count, the number of characters that you can in your titles. And I'm not exactly sure how many characters that is, but it's somewhere around like 10 words or so, depending on how long they are. So if you're making, I'll just use my store as an example. So if I'm making like a middle school experiment resource, it'll say MYP, middle school science resource, grades 5 to 7, something like that. And it'll say the specific product name as the beginning of that. So previously I had all my products starting with MYP middle school science, but then when you look through my store, everything started with MYP middle school science, and it was kind of hard to differentiate one product from the next unless you looked at the covers and stuff. Then it was pretty easy. but I tried to do it with the product titles now too. So I'm leading with specifically what it is, and then I get more generalized as my title goes on. So now it says something like grade 5 to 7 separation techniques experiment, or separation techniques lab. And then it'll say what unit it's for, and then the curriculum. So MYP, middle school science, is the last thing. And some of the titles are long. So, some of my units are like characteristics of living things, or human impacts on the environment, and that takes up half of the title itself. So in those cases, I'll start dropping things that I think are the least important from the keywords in the title. So I would maybe get rid of the middle school part. That takes up a fair number of characters, and I just keep the MYP. Or I'll drop the grade levels. And then anything that I'm removing from the title, I need to make sure that that goes in the first couple lines of the description. So like, I made a list of all the words that I needed to have either in the title or the description, and the first couple lines of the description, we'll get to that in a minute, in order to make sure that those words are coming up when people search for things. So if I removed it from the title, it had to go in the description right away. Otherwise, I'd probably be losing those things if people are searching for them. Another thing I've noticed is that I'm not sure, if you search for a term and it's in the title and the description, I think it bumps it up a little bit in the search algorithm. So I try not to include the same keyword more than twice, because I think that's just a waste. And I don't think you gain a whole lot of benefit if you just put like middle school, middle school, middle school, middle school. Like, you have to have your other terms in there as well. Otherwise, you're competing with way too many resources. So keep it specific to what your resource is, but also if you have the space and you can put in a keyword twice, one that you think is really going to be an important one for searching for that product, I think you should put it in there a couple of times. Make it sound natural. That's another thing that many people kind of suggest, and I think it's true. So if it's just a list of the keywords, like middle school science, resource, great product, very nice, if it just sounds like a machine or AI wrote it or something, I don't think that's going to be very successful for you. So put a little bit of effort into making it sound kind of unique, but still getting your keywords in there as well. You can use AI like ChatGPT or something like that to help you make your product descriptions, and lots of people do that. But I think it sounds super generic and not human-like at all. So I sometimes start with it, I put in all the keywords I want, and it'll spit out some terrible paragraph, and then I'll edit it like crazy. And it ends up being almost like I wrote it myself anyway. So I don't know if it helps that much. If you like to write, maybe just write it from scratch. If not, let ChatGPT get you started and then edit it as much as you can. You want the first sentence of your description, I think, to be kind of interesting. So it doesn't have to be a call to action or anything like that. That can be much later in your description, but I think it should be the first couple of words that somebody reads should kind of make someone want to click on your product. So I look at the cover images first. This is just how I would shop for things. And I'd say, oh, this one looks nice. And then I would read the first sentence, because I'm not going to click on it if I feel like it's not quite what I want. And I don't just go by the image. So if it says, this is a great product, I'm like, well, that doesn't tell me anything. So tell me something about the product. What things are not included in the title that I didn't get from that you can tell me in the first line of the description to kind of get me interested. So if it's an experiment about separation techniques or something, say that your students will use filtration and chromatography and things like that. And as a science teacher, I know right away what that means. And if those are things I'm doing in my class, I'm going to say, oh yeah, that's what I want. That's the kind of stuff that I want my students to learn. So I usually lead with what my students are going to be doing, not so much how I can help the teacher. I'm sure other people have philosophies on different ways to approach their product description. But I like to say, what are the students going to be doing? And I'll put that in there. And sometimes I'll put in like how it makes the teacher's life a little easier, like cut down on their planning, or how long the lesson will be. Like this is a 3-week lesson or something, or 3-week unit, in order to kind of give people an idea of how much work I'm providing for them. I think that's a big benefit to teachers too. I sometimes put words like low prep and easy to implement, or something like that in there, but I think those words are kind of overused a little bit. So I'm mostly trying to focus on what that specific product is, and even if it's in a product line, I'll still try to make the wording sound a little bit different than the other products if I can. So a little bit more about the keywords, like how do you figure out what keywords you should be using? A fairly obvious one, but maybe one that people should be using more since it's free and really easy, is to use TPT's own search bar to find your keywords. So just start typing in words that sound like your product, and without pressing enter or anything, just see what comes up as the suggested keywords. And those are the things that people have been searching for recently. They seem to change quite often. Not quite often, but every few months or something, you might want to redo it for some of your products. But if I start typing in like middle school experiment, it'll give me some of the words and the order of words and phrases and things like that that are most common. So maybe middle school lab is better than middle school experiment, so I should use that in my description or in my title. Maybe it'll say specific grades that people are searching for. Maybe people are looking for worksheets, so middle school lab worksheet or something like that. So those kinds of things will tell you what people are looking for, and if you include those in your descriptions and titles, then that's going to help you get more views, obviously. It may also mean that you're competing with more resources, but still, if that's the most searched term or set of terms, then you're more likely to show up in more searches. If you have a very specific focus of your experiment or a grade level or a curriculum that you're offering that no one else does, you absolutely want to include that in your keywords, because those things are going to differentiate you from all the other resources. Like if I just type in middle school genetics lab, my resources aren't showing up because there's a million of those. But if I'd said MYP genetics lab, I think mine will probably be at the top of the list, or maybe in the first couple of hits there. So include everything that makes your resource unique, but also include those generic terms that are going to help you get more views, more observations. More links to your products from people searching for things. So that's one way to get keyword terms. You can include phrases, like a couple of words string together, and that'll help you get some views as well. I think phrases count as the search will look for those phrases as a group and also individually too, so don't panic too much if you put things in inverse order or something like that. Another place that you can look for keywords is on an external site. Like you can look at Google search trends and stuff. That's one way to look, but that'll include everything that people are searching for. Like if someone's looking for like a popular science article or something, that'll get them to that instead of my science resources for teachers. So I think the TPT algorithm search bar stuff is your best bet really to start. And then from there, if you're getting really serious, you can try something like SEMrush or one of the other kind of keyword search providers. Most of them are not free, but most of them do let you search a little bit for free. So some of them will give you a limited number of searches per day. SEMrush is like that, where I think you get 10 searches a day. So I just use the keyword magic tool from them, which allows you to do a couple of different types of searches. And I'll do 10 searches a day. And then the next day I'll do another search for a different unit or a different product or something like that. And it only took me like 2 or 3 weeks to get through all my products. Just every day I've made a reminder on my phone and it would come up and say do your searches. And I would do it. And I haven't paid anything for that stuff. So I think it's really worth your time to use one of those really powerful keyword search tools in order to get some more hints on what things people are looking for. A lot of the teachers on TPT are American teachers, and they're not teaching international curriculum, which is what I offer. So I think it's important that I know what other people are searching for, which are terms that I might not use. For example, like I don't know anything about like next generation stuff like that, and international schools don't use STEM that much. That's a very kind of American sort of term. STEM and STEAM and stuff like that, we don't use that as often. So I'm still putting some of those terms in my searches because that's what people are searching for a lot of the time, but those aren't the main kind of things that I would normally include in my product descriptions. So that's one example of how like searching for keywords will help you find things that you wouldn't have thought to include in there. There are also things where it's a specific kind of resource and it's called things in different names in different countries and stuff like that. Like I use a lot of bell ringers, but some teachers I've worked with have called those like starters or intro activities, or there's a bunch of other things you can call them. But yeah, bell ringers seems to be the term that people go with, so I need to change some of my products to use that terminology instead. And again, so that could be different depending on where you live and what people are searching for. I also probably made a mistake when I started implementing all my units on TPT. I just used the names that I had used in my class, which were just like whatever I felt like it should be. So human impacts on the environment was one that came straight out of the textbook that I'd basically use that same title. And thankfully that is the title that most people use. But then there are other ones like I do forces. I forget what my unit's called. Forces, structures and forces and structures, something like that. But nobody uses that combination of terms. So I've had to adjust that one a little bit to be like forces in motion, which is more like a common thing. Or like materials science, or things like that, where it still has to represent what the product actually is, but it's not the terms that I would normally use to describe my own stuff. So yeah, you have to modify your product names and product descriptions a little bit in order to kind of match what people actually want and what terms people use to search for. So you might have a fantastic product, but if it has some weird name that nobody's going to think to type in, they're not going to find it. Yeah, that pretty much takes care of keywords. As for what you should put in the description, I think as much as possible, basically. Like, you don't want someone to come to your product page and they find like 2 lines of text that says this is a really sweet product, and if you download it, it'll help you a lot. Okay, that doesn't tell me anything about what's in it, and it doesn't tell me how many pages it is, or what kind of student it's for, or what curriculum content it covers, or anything like that. So you want a quick description at the beginning, which is mostly your SEO description. That's your keyword description. And then after that, then get into the real details of what this thing is. But then I also like to have just like a bullet point list of everything that's included, and try and make it as quick and simple as possible, so that if somebody doesn't feel like reading all that description that you wrote, then they just look at those bullet points and they can get a really quick summary of what they're going to find. I also think that if there's anything in your product that could be confusing or misleading or anything like that, that you either fix it or you just make it really clear with like big asterisks or something that this product is part of another product, or that this product does not contain lecture notes, or it doesn't contain answer codes or answer sheets or something like that. Like, if your product is missing anything that you think people would maybe be interested in, or if it's not clear in your description exactly what's going to be included, you can't guarantee that they're going to click on your preview and actually find it. So I've made it really clear in all my products, because I got a terrible review as soon as I started uploading things really early on in my store that said like, hey, this is just the learning objectives. There's no unit plans in here. And I said like, yeah, I know. I put that in the description, but it wasn't obvious enough. So I've had to go back and add some of those things. You learn a little bit by getting those bad reviews. I don't think they're necessarily a terrible thing. So anyway, definitely include asterisks and really clear points about what's included, what's not included. If you have another product that's related to that product, absolutely link to it. That apparently also maybe helps your search rankings on the TPT website. That one I can't confirm, but I've heard that from a few people, that possibly your links to other products or links to places within TPT, not outside of TPT, will possibly help you. So if you have a product that's part of a bigger bundle, say, hey, you might be interested in this bundle. And it also, TPT themselves will suggest those products at the bottom of the page too. So by doing it in your own description, and they're doing it as well, then people are seeing that a couple of times. And the bundles are always worth more to you. So you want people to buy those as opposed to the individual products, if they can. So that's one way to improve your descriptions, is by having sort of a specific summary at the beginning, and then getting more generalized. And then all of your stuff at the bottom, I think, should be kind of your links to all your social media pages, and a reminder about reviews, and possibly something about like following you. That can be in there too. Some people use the banner as a way to click and get people to follow kind of automatically. You can set it so it follows when they click on the banner, or on the little, I don't know, I guess it's another banner on the side. You can also make both of those so that when they click on it, it automatically follows your store. So that's useful. The first couple of lines of the product description, I think, are super important for showing up in the search algorithm. And when you search for things, you'll notice that the terms are highlighted just in those first couple of sentences. If you search on your PC or whatever, you can see that only maybe the first, 50 words, not even that many, just the first couple of lines, really. The first three are the most important. And beyond that, I don't know if they help you that much towards your search rankings. So you want to make sure that whatever keywords you're using are found in those first couple of sentences. And after you upload your product, you can check it on the search page and just see what things are showing up. So click on your store and find your resource in there, not the actual individual product page, but just your store, where it kind of shows the cover page and the quick description. And if it's not in that first couple lines after the ... it's not going to show up, I don't think. So try and make sure stuff is in there. So I've done some experiments with this in the last couple of weeks to see how changing those product descriptions, those first couple lines, makes a difference. Because I used to just have a bunch of generic stuff in there that sort of described what it was going to do for students and kind of stuff about the product. But I wasn't very specific about including I wasn't very intentional about including the keywords in those first couple lines. They were in the product description, but not in the first little blurb there. So I've changed a couple of products, a whole product line, in order to be maximized for SEO kind of stuff. And those products are the ones that have been selling in this last couple of weeks. So I do think that it is worth your time to go back and look at your product descriptions and really try and include those keywords in the first couple of sentences there. All right, so that's it for the TPT algorithm and the product and title SEO kind of optimization. Hopefully that's helpful for a couple of people, and if there is any change to the algorithm in the future, I will possibly make another video and update on how that's affected my sales and things like that. So I hope you can find something useful in there for you. Okay, thanks.